Here, instead of nav controller, should be nav host controller. This is basically the nav app host. Let's use it under layout. For the modifier, it's going to occupy the max size. For the nav controller, it's the nav controller of type nav host controller. For the start destination, from the main activity state, that latest visited screen. And we need to define the composables here. This is just a personal preference. I would like to set the composables under routes. For the destination home screen, I'm gonna call it, for example, home route. For product detail, I'm gonna call it product detail route. And for the wishlist screen, it's gonna be wishlist screen route. And for the product search result, I'm gonna call it product search route or product search result route. All right, so let's come back to the route package. I'm gonna start defining the home route. For the home route, we're going to show here the home screen. The home screen is going to consist of the animation or the Lucy animation as well as the products fragment. Let's create here a new composable. We're gonna call it home screen. I think it should be under main. Let's wrap everything within a colon and we're going to wrap the content height. All right, the first composable, as I said before, it's gonna be discount animation. Let's add a modifier to this discount animation, basically the required size. Let's do, for example, 200 or 160 dp and some padding vertically. Basically, hard coding the loop to true will make app forever not idle. So it won't be testable. And I found a very good solution for this. Let's create here a package under pocket goods, call it util. I'm going to add here a Kotlin file. I'm going to call it local app environment. Basically, in a Jetpack compose, we're going to use a technique or something called composition local. The technique composition local is a way to pass values basically down the composable tree without passing them through every composable function parameter. In other words, we're not going to use the parameters to pass values. For example, we are under test or we are under production by using parameters. However, we're going to use the technique that's called composition local to pass a certain information down the tree of the composable. I'm going to create here a value. Let's call it local is test mode. It's basically a flag to check if we are under test environment or just a normal environment. Basically, it's similar to Swift. If you are familiar with Swift, it's like an environment decorator or annotation. And I'm going to use here composition local off. By default, it's going to be false. All right. And this is going to be assigned under the main activity. Let's come back to the home screen. And instead of hard coding this value, we're going to do local is test mode and current have the opposite value. And basically, this is the value that we have assigned here. In other words, under testing environment, it should be false. And in normal environment, the loop should be true, triggering the animation over, playing the animation over and over again. This is basically the trick. If you don't do this, your composable home screen will never be testable. Next, just we're gonna add here the text, label discount, the next composable, which is the products fragment. And we need to pass here the state, the event, the authenticated user and whatnot. I'm going to hoist this particular section to the parent composable home screen route. And home screen is ready to go. Let's come back to the home route. Let's use the home screen. Basically, the home route is just a simple wrapper around home screen. I'm going to hoist the state of product state in order to be accessible under the layout. We want everything to be handled here. We should provide the on products event. Let's hoist this as well. On view products click, we're going to navigate to the screen, product detail screen. And we should access or to have the instance of nav controller. Basically, we're going to navigate to product detail screen, the same thing that we have done under layout. On toggle wishlist, I'm gonna leave it empty and provide the rest, the authenticated user and should paginate. We need here the auth state and we need the state of should paginate. Basically, should paginate will be triggered whenever we reach the bottom of the scrollable container. Let's assign authenticated user and should paginate. For the function on toggle wishlist, we need to check if the user is authenticated. We're going to proceed. Otherwise, I'm going to start with this one. I'm just going to show a snack bar message telling the user you must log in to proceed. Toggle button should not appear under this condition. Now we need to show the snack bar. We need the context to get the string resource after setting the data of the current snack bar data. We're going to show the snack bar message. We need the snack bar host state. Now for the other case where the user is authenticated, first of all, going to prepare the snack bar data before toggling the wishlist. Then we're going to toggle the wishlist by triggering the event from main activity event on toggle wishlist. Let's provide here the user ID for the first one. We're going to show the snack bar. The product is added to your wishlist. Let's provide the product ID first. On removed, we're going to show the message. It's removed from wishlist. For the arguments, I'm just going to put here an empty string. So in order not to repeat ourselves over and over again, first of all, we're going to prepare the data that should be shown under the snack bar message. Then we're going to show the message accordingly. The only difference is the text itself. For the icon and the severity, it's the same. That's why instead of putting the same trigger event here under the onAdded or onRemoved, let's just do it first and call the event on toggle wishlist. And that's all we have for the home screen route. Let's add the home screen route under app navhost. The route for this composable is basically home screen and route. On main events, on products event from the products view model, navhost controller, snack bar host state, snack bar controller, the context, and we have to specify the should paginate. What we have to do here is very simple. We have implemented before under core UI the function reach bottom extension function under the scroll state, and we can use it here. So how to do? Let's call here a variable or a local value. It's going to be called reached bottom by, remember, derived state of. The whole state under the derived state of, or the value that's going to be set here, is from a certain calculation. We don't want this calculation to be triggered multiple times. Therefore, we're going to use derived state of scroll state, and we have defined reached bottom. For the buffer, I'm going to do, for example, 20, which means that it's not going to be flush with the bottom of the screen. And we can serve it here under should paginate. Whenever we reach the bottom of the screen, we're going to basically trigger to load the next page for pagination. Let's add here the product state, and that's all for the home route. If you want, you can just do everything here, but once you do that, it's going to be so hard to maintain this particular layout. All right? I prefer to do it under small chunks if you want to maintain each composable on its own. Let's create here the route for a product detail screen. Let's use the product detail screen. We need to provide the state. I think I'm going to hoist the state. And on toggle wishlist, we're going to handle this internally, but we're going to hoist the method main activity event. Product state, authenticated user from auth state and authenticated user. On event, on products event, and we have to implement this one, which is on toggle wishlist. Basically, it's the same thing that we have done under the home route, and that's pretty much it for the product detail route. Let's do the other one, which is product search route. All right, under the home screen, we have forgot actually here to do one thing, which is very important, the flag for the product fragment. We have a flag here, is search enabled. For the home screen, I'm going to do here is search enabled to false. Let's define here the search result route. It's going to be almost the same thing as the home screen, and we're not going to show here the Lucy animation. Basically, on view products, we're going to navigate to the product detail screen, the same thing as we have done previously, so nothing new. The snack bar host state, as well as the snack bar controller, as well as the context to access the message, and the nav controller, or the nav host controller. Is search enable should be true, and we're going to do the same thing as we have done under the product route, detail, and home route. And that's pretty much it. As you can see, we are not inventing anything here. We're just consuming what we have done previously under the other features. One last route to go, which is wishlist screen route. We have to provide here the authenticated user from the auth state. Let's hoist this one. We need to provide the wishlist screen state. we're going to hoist this one as well. And we need to provide on events of type wishlist manager screen events. At this point, we're not interested to test into isolation. Therefore, instead of using here the product or wishlist manager event, I'm going to inject here the view model. From the event, we're going to do here wishlist manager view model and on event. Now we have to provide the on delete success and on delete error. And the last one, I think, on unauthorized. On products click. For the first one on delete success, we're just going to show the snack bar. On products click, we're going to navigate to the product detail screen. And on unauthorized, we're going to navigate to the unauthorized screen. That's pretty much it for the wishlist screen route. Let's use all the routes under the layout section. We have this first composable. I'm going to fold this section, another destination. For the product detail screen, it's gonna be a little bit different. For the screen here, it's product detail screen and route. And you have to pass here the arguments, basically the product's ID, and you have to set the nullable to false. Let's use here the product detail screen. So basically, to access the state and the product's ID from the saved state handle, we need to have here a parameter backstack entry in order to create the view model. By calling products view model, this is a new view model of type products view model. It does have nothing to do with this one, products view model. This is not the same instance. Let's call it only view model equal health view model of type product view model, and we have to pass here the backstack entry in order to get the product's ID from the saved state handle. And let's add here a state before assigning the state here. Product, let's call it just state by view model collect as state on product event, odd state from the odd state, on main event from on main event, the snack bar host state as well as snack bar controller and the context. And we are done with this composable. Let's fold this section. Let's add the routes for wishlist manager screen. It does have no arguments. Let's create here the view model or the dedicated view model for this particular screen and to observe the state. Let's add here the wishlist screen route. Let's fold this section. We can add here, for example, some comments and the last route for the product search result. Let's add the composable with the dedicated route. And we have to provide here the arguments, basically the search query. Let's add the product search route. We need here the view model and the state from the product view model. Just imagine if you did not hoist the states and did not group or fragmented a little bit your code under the routes, this whole section or this whole file is going to look very complicated. But actually, in reality, it's not that complicated. We are just using what we have done previously under the other features. Add here one more route. Let's fold this one first, which is for the page 404. On home click, what we're going to do is we're going to navigate to the home screen. You have two options. The first one, if you want to add this under the saved state handle, you can just raise the event from the main event by saving the current destination to the saved state handle. Otherwise, just call navigate screen. I think that's more than enough. Let's fold this section and we are done basically with the app nav host. Those are all the destinations that we have. I'm gonna add here a spacer. You can apply the height that you want. Now we have to add one more composable, which is the footer. Let's do for the footer height, for example, 90 dp. And that's all we have for the layout. Let's go back and use the layout under the main activity and specify all remaining arguments. I'm gonna start with this one, login success events. From the auth view model and login success, for the main activity state, it is main activity state. For the auth state and on auth events, on main event, and again, from the main view model, it's not that complicated. I'm going to provide the rest. And let's provide the snack bar controller. Underneath this private val auth view model, I'm going to create here a private val of type snack bar controller equals snack bar controller from our core UI. and we have to pass the lifecycle scope. Let's come back here and add the snack bar controller. If you do remember, under the home screen, let me refresh your memory, we need to provide the value that's going to be assigned here, whether under test or not under test. Let's come back to the main activity. We're going to basically wrap the whole thing within the composition local provider in order to assign the needed value according to the environments, whether we are on testing environments or under a normal environment. So I'm going to fold this section, and I'm going to use here the composition local provider. I'm going to paste the rest here. For the arguments, we need to use the local is test mode provides, and you have to pass here the parameter to check whether we are in test mode or not. I'm going to add here a to-do, provide the test flag. What I have found as a workaround, actually it works very good under the end-to-end test, we're going to pass some data from the intent. How to do so? I'm going to store this, let's call it as test mode, because at the end of the day, when we will start our end-to-end test, we're going to launch an activity. Therefore, we are able to pass some data under the intent. This is basically the idea. Let's call it as in test mode, and we're going to assign it here. Now, in test mode, as I said, from the intent, or the data from the intent, and we're going to pass here a boolean, whether we are in test mode or not. Get boolean extra. Let's define the key here. Let's call it is test mode. For the default value, it's going to be false. And because this is a nullable value, if it's null, by default, it's going to be true. I don't think it does make any sense. I'm going to switch it to false. So basically, this is the idea. When we are in test mode, we're going to provide the value, whether false or true, to this composable under the home screen, and assign the loop whether true or false. If it's under a normal environment, in other words, we are running the application in our device, we are not testing or we are not running end-to-end tests, it's going to be set to true. It won't cause a problem. The true in end-to-end test, as I said before, the application won't be in idle state, which is very important for the end-to-end test. I don't think that we have forgot anything. If we did forget something, we're going to correct it accordingly when we're going to run our end-to-end test. And speaking of which, for the next tutorial, we're going to run our end-to-end test. At this particular stage, you are able to run your application, but I highly recommend not to run the application. For one, we are under a challenge. Let's not run the application at all till we're going to be done with the end-to-end test. With the same manner, we're going to proceed here in the Jetpack Compose for end-to-end test by using the robot pattern. Then we can run our application and see the final result. That was it for this tutorial. See you in the next one, and happy coding.